Nice and
Latham, how come you haven't done any voices on the show since then?
Well, that's a good question. They did, after Dino Thunder, they did ask me to play that character who's the Doggy Kruger. So I actually talked to the producers about being Kruger. I was interested in it, but to tell you the truth, I had invested a lot in Mesogog, and Doug and I worked a lot together on it. And I felt like that Mesogog had potential, and possibly still has potential, to come back, or Anton Mercer does. So I declined to do any more because of that. The guy who runs the ADR is a dear friend of mine, and it just never worked out. After that as well, I started working on some other projects and was not available to do that kind of thing. But I have said before in the past that I would definitely come back as Mesogog and Anton Mercer. I wouldn't do another character, but that one I cared a lot about and would be interested in doing.
We'd be interested to see you.
Yeah, as a mentor, right? I mean, especially this year we had Hartford, the billionaire,
Right.
so he's even got Mercer's house.
Well, that's what he does have Mercer. That's true.
one fetch house.
That's true. There's only one nice house.
Mercer doesn't even know he lives there. I'm Andrew Hartford. I live here.
Let's see.
Hartford was at one time actually the butler for Mercer.
Yeah. Mercer's got a lot of houses too, I can tell you. He's got a lot of houses. And he mostly hangs out in that cave. Now the Mesogog's gone, he's still got that cave.
Yeah, it's a nice bachelor pad.
Yeah. It is. It's his bachelor pad. No, that's a little bit of a contentious thing for me, actually, to be honest with you. I guess this is the forum for these kinds of things. I always, from the beginning, I was not I didn't know much about the Power Rangers at the beginning, but when I took the job, I took it very seriously, and like I said, I got along with Doug very well. We talked about how we wanted to scare kids, and I decided that if I was going to do it, that I was going to do it as well as I could possibly do it. And I had been to the Ranger Board, and I was familiar with the popularity of the show, so I took it on to do the best job that I could do. And I think, well, that you can never really have great heroes in any kind of show without great villains. And I thought, it always makes the Rangers look weak if the villains are weak. And so, and I think any good character that I've ever seen that's very strong is usually from a singular vision. And if you get too micromanaged by producers saying, well, we'd like to have this, and another producer says, well, why don't you do that? That never works. And so I basically just sort of said, I'm comfortable doing this, I'm not comfortable doing other things. By the time we got to the end of the season with the Meso Monster, sometimes scheduling and things like that end up becoming a problem, and you just don't have time to do everything the way it should be done. And those scripts were late in coming, and that story was not as strong as it should have been. I was not happy with the Meso Monster or with what happened with that.
No one liked part 2 of Thunderstruck.
I knew that no one would like that. And when I saw the monster, I thought this is a pitiful ending for Mesogog to go out. But at that point, they built it, and it's been shipped from Japan, and they're just doing what they're doing. So I was not happy about that, especially since I had insisted that Mesogog be a certain way the whole time. And it had sometimes had to fight with directors saying, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to make a joke out of this, I'm not going to do an evil laugh. So, no, that was not me. In that, I was done already with the series when they did do that. But as far as the thing we were talking about earlier, Doug and I had talked about years ago that if Mercer did come back, it would probably be in that capacity, that he had once sort of been evil and he would like to sort of give back by being a mentor. So that would be the best possible storyline. Something like that would be appropriate.
I heard from Doug 2 days ago.
No, pick it up and tell them where you are. Pick it up and tell them where you are. No, you gotta tell them where you are. Tell them. No, tell them where you are. No. He didn't say just answer the phone. You have to tell them. Voice acting back where? Come back to bed, Commander. I wanted it to be like The Office. I'm at the Power Ranger convention at the voice actor panel. I did that when I was at Muppet Fest. So.
How difficult was it for you guys to work with the prosthetics? Did you see it as an aid or as a hindrance to act?
For me, it was definitely an aid. I mean, I think a lot of times as an actor, at least for me, once I get a costume on or things like that, that often helps you with the character. And Mesogog certainly came from putting it on, looking in the mirror, and getting an idea with how it's going to work. So the voice and the movements and everything of Mesogog for me came from prosthetics, really primarily. I think those things need to be, they need to sort of go together. And a certain voice needed to come out of that head, and a certain set of movements probably needed to come from that character. So I liked it a lot, and in fact the head actually amplified the voice a little bit, where I did that voice, and when it came out of the thing, it sounded better. So for me, I like that. It's always difficult to work with prosthetics. They're heavy, and you get real sweaty, but it's a tremendous advantage. I mean, I turn into somebody else when I put that on. I mean, it's really great fun. It's one of the things that I certainly love about this job, to really be somebody else. And when you get expensive stuff like that put on, it's genius. I mean, it was heavy and hot and painful, but a lot of fun.
What about the Mesogog suit? You're talking about worship suit.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's funny.
There's actually one question I would say.
You know what? Hold on. Let me see if we got some other people over here with some questions.
Actually, Kelson had a picture.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. That's very quite interesting. I actually had a similar thing, particularly with Phineas, where you're a little bit lost. You sort of have a voice and a thought of what it's going to be, and it really doesn't come into play until you've got some things glued to your face that move in funny ways when you move your face. And Phineas in particular was incredibly responsive to what I was doing. So yeah, the character didn't arrive until I got the prosthetics, and the voice didn't get completed until I got the prosthetics. Norg, slightly different. The suit really influenced the way I moved, and it was great to put on at first, and then after about 3 hours of having it on, it stopped being so great. It was both a hindrance and a joy, because I mean, Norg, I find it very difficult to do Norg just wandering around, because when you put the suit on and I'm suddenly fat and hairy and lumber, it just comes from there. In real life, I almost find it difficult to remember what Norg does until the suit comes on, and then. The one difficulty with the Norg suit was a helmet filled with servos that move and wiggle, and I had to over-enunciate whenever I talked so that I could move the jaw myself. So I actually couldn't really hear, was fainting most of the time, and was getting a very sore jaw, but it was still somehow good fun.
That jaw thing actually reminds me, I had to do that with Mesogog as well. Now that I hear that, I would get that sometimes from the director, where the jaw just wasn't moving enough, and that was the thing we had to work on quite often. Normal talking does not do it. So you actually have to sort of relearn how to talk on some of that stuff, like obedient dogs. You have to really overdo it, and that's very difficult, but it's about that final look of the thing.
This young man's been waiting for a while.
Yeah, this is a question for Latham. So, you wouldn't even play a monster come back and play a monster? Because actors have come back and played monsters.
Right. I would not come back and play a different monster, no. I would come back and play Mesogog again, but I wouldn't come back and play I don't think I would come back and play a different monster, unless Anton Mercer were to turn into a different monster. Then I possibly would. Right. That's something like that I would do. But I liked the Jekyll and Hyde aspect of it, and I would be interested in doing that again. And I think there's a storyline that could continue. So I would hate to come back as another monster and then come back later as Anton Mercer again. I mean, that was a fairly involved thing for me. I'd like to do it again. Another monster, I don't think so.
Here's part two of the question. Was it always in the storyline that Mesogog and Mercer would separate at the final?
Nothing is really ever always in the storyline, at least on my season. They're writing them as they go. I can't speak for every other season, but that certainly was not always in the storyline at all. There's a certain amount of sort of give and take that happens that I think is good with a show like that, where they see how it goes and they develop it as it goes. So, no, I mean, obviously Mesogog had to die or disappear. Clearly he can't win, even though I've battled for that all season. that he should be the one who finally does kill all the Rangers. I thought that would be an awesome ending for me. So that's a pretty likely outcome, but it was never always in the storyline, no.